Greetings, colleagues. Welcome to the Ivory Attic. I'm Ian Escherwood,
I'm Kurt Andreessen.
and we are here with a special episode.
Ooh, that's exciting.
What
I love
makes it
special episodes.
What makes it special?
I mean, they're all special.
Yeah.
Let's start there. But this is a special episode because it's our gratitude special.
It's our gratitude special, and we came up with an idea when we were sitting around brainstorming about what would make for a good episode around the holiday season.
Yeah.
Would be a reflective episode where we looked at the concept of gratitude, the idea of gratitude, and then called up some of our former guests and asked them what they're grateful for.
Sounds great. Well, let's hear what some of our guests had to say. First, let's hear from an interview that I did with Nozomi Ando about what she's grateful for.
I mean, I think I'm grateful for a lot of things, like, for example, I am grateful for doing my profession, right?
Yeah.
For example, right?
Yeah.
Because even though it is exhausting, Lois described it as like 100% teaching, 100% research, and 150% service. And I could not agree more. It's just so exhausting. But, it's very rewarding, and so like, that's what, like, I'm grateful that I have a job that I find worth doing despite it being so exhausting. But, like, there are lots of small things that just make it possible for me to do those things that like fuel me on a daily basis. And I would say my husband Buzz is like is that fuel for me.
Yeah.
So every morning he makes breakfast for me, actually, and it's just like little things like that. Like, I make dinner, he makes breakfast, but like, I'm so dead in the morning that like I just like need that start to the day. He makes coffee and breakfast, and when it's a day when I have to teach, when I teach at 8 a.m.
Oh God.
He packs my breakfast and coffee for me.
It's so wonderful. I love that.
Which is so essential because, it's like so necessary.
Yeah.
And like lots of other little things too. Like, for example, so for me, like, my car is just something it's like a utility. Like, I have like zero interest in cars other than the fact that, like, I want it to be clean and functional and safe, and so like, I don't have like a whole lot of interest in like maintaining my car. I just want it to be like safe, and so like every time like there's like a time change, like daylight savings or something, like he's the one who like just like my time gets like magically fixed. and he's like the fairy who does it.
That's great. So good. And I don't know if you don't want to talk about it, we don't have to talk about this, but I found this like absolutely wonderful. Like, I love the idea of like your Friday day night. Like, I loved it. Like I mean, what's I mean, that must do a lot for like happiness.
Yeah, no, I think it's really important to have as many meals together as possible, and so, that's kind of why I limit the amount of travel that I do, even though like I enjoy meeting people and giving talks, and like I really enjoy meeting colleagues and students. But, I think it's just also so important to spend that time with my husband.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
that's wonderful.
Yeah, so I think I was like, I need to be home in time for dinner.
It's so good. It was so good. The other thing, I'd be curious just to hear your thought, like when you talk about like being really thankful for the job, like are there particular moments when you really feel that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely. So many moments. And I think that especially, like being an academic, like you have to like interacting with students and sort of enjoying their learning process.
Yeah.
Like that like if you just wanted to do science, it doesn't have to be in academia.
Right.
And it's potentially like even more efficient outside of academia.
Right.
One could argue, right? Like that it's possible, right? And there might be more funds also, But for me, I think the process of like training somebody so that they to me, like that investment process of like putting in the energy to teach somebody else to do science, and then like when they come up with an idea on their own, or they sort of come up with like really crazy creative ideas and it works, that's just very rewarding to me. And the payoff seems like greater because, like certainly like in my mind, like doing science with a group of people is like definitely like the payoff is greater than doing it myself. And there's something extra special because I feel like people who are trained in this way can then go on to train others as well, or apply that knowledge in some other environment, right? And so it feels like catalyzing like a chain reaction. Absolutely. In a way.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. That's great.
Well, I don't know about you, Kurt, but I feel very insufficient.
I was going to say, Buzz, I really appreciate everything you're doing, but man.
You can tone it back a little, right?
I was going to say, well done.
But I think one of the things, if we can be serious, we can keep it real.
Probably not.
Okay. One of the things, though, that I was thinking was just about how, the connection between gratitude and thankfulness to the idea of like just basic kindness or simple kindness, right?
Yeah.
And I really love the connection between the job in and of itself, right? Where you have to be 100% a researcher and 100% a teacher and 50% service, right? So you're doing all of this different thing, but how much something little and something simple, like making somebody breakfast every single day, or switching the clock.
I love the switching the clock.
The switching the clock is my favorite thing.
It's so
it
good.
is so good.
Yeah. No, because it is. I mean, those things matter so little in theory.
Yeah.
And in practice are so incredibly important.
They are.
To every single day of your life.
Yeah.
No, I think the ability to I think this is something I've actually every once in a while, whenever I very rarely try to give relationship advice to students for very good reasons,
but definitely for the best.
Really good reasons. But one of the things I've pointed out to people in the past is that things like, let's take making coffee, for example. It takes about the same amount of effort for me to make my own cup of coffee, and then let's say my wife to make her cup of tea. All right. As it does for me to make both of those. But there is such a huge difference between between let's say me making the coffee and the tea one day for both of us and her making the coffee and tea the next day for both of us than us each making our own thing.
So that's great advice, and I'm glad that that's the relationship advice.
No, that's the deepest that I am willing to go.
Well, and it's actually pretty deep. Like when you get down to it, because that basic compatibility and functionality and courtesy is such a big deal, and it irons out things that take years to learn sometimes.
No, exactly.
Yeah. Well, so one of the things that we do with coffee in our household is I'll make a cup just for myself, and then I'll turn the coffee maker off, unplug it, and put it away, and then say, "Oh, did you want a cup of coffee?" I'm not sure if
that's good. No, that's right in line,
because different couples do different things.
No, exactly. So, no, I think you and Buzz are about at the same level right now, nailing it as spouses.
And sometimes I just change the clock to random times.
Right, exactly. You just keeping her on her toes.
No,
you're like. It's mostly
Sorry, Sam, none of that's true.
Yeah. So you were late. The last time I asked you to pick me up, so I put the clock ahead 10 minutes.
No, exactly 1 hour and 37 minutes, just so it doesn't happen again.
Well, excellent. Well, good. We should probably move on.
Definitely.
Despite everything that's happening in the world, I have to admit that there are quite a few things that I am grateful for. I'm grateful for my family. My mother just turned 72 on Thanksgiving Day. My brother turned 45 2 days later. I'm particularly grateful that he was able to celebrate this birthday because he gave us all a bit of a heart scare last year. It was indeed a mild heart attack, but we lost my father to cardiac arrest when he was only 46. So to say that this was an unwelcome deja vu would be putting it mildly. While I'm at it, I'll say that I'm also grateful to be on the cusp of my own birthday this coming Saturday, December 2nd. We are indeed a family of Sagittariuses, or perhaps it's Sagittarii. I'm not sure. Hopefully one of your faithful readers will correct me. Aside from my biological family, I am tremendously grateful for my chosen family, and I celebrate every day that I've had the good fortune to be surrounded by good people who provide laughter, joy, and support in the midst of it all. Particularly in times as trying as these, it is no small thing to find oneself in good company of good-hearted and good-humored people. It's a tremendous blessing, and I am eternally grateful.
That was McKinley Mountain on gratitude.
I love that. And by the way, by the time this comes out, we should probably say happy birthday. Happy birthday, McKinley.
Oh yeah, happy birthday, McKinley.
Also, the good news is that if nobody else will correct you if it's wrong, our previous guest Joanne Myers will definitely do that for you. So good news. Yeah. Joanne, if you want to just call in with your voice message, we'll convey this to everyone with any kind of additional information you want to provide.
And my brother and I are both Tauri.
Yeah, I think Taurus Eye. Yeah.
Taurus Eye.
Maybe we should. We could also ask Ian Clark because he studies stars, and that's the same thing.
Oh yeah, they named him after.
That's right,
it's the same thing as astrology, isn't it?
Exactly. They're the same thing.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. And I like reading both because he has a column in the local paper about the night sky.
Yeah.
And then I like reading the horoscopes afterward. Yeah. Because it's the same thing.
Well, the same thing. They're just looking at it different ways.
That's right.
Different lenses. Yeah. So same telescope, different lenses. No, I mean, listen, I think, and I don't think this is overly surprising, but I think it is one of the things, one of the things we try to keep it light here on the Ivory Attic, but it's been some tough times I think around the world, but it's also been quite tough in particular for people working in higher education as far as just their current work environment and what they're having to deal with. And I think what you are seeing is a lot of people getting back to some fundamental things, which is that family and friends and people that you enjoy being around can get you a long way.
Well, and funnily enough, that's why we started the podcast.
As it turns out. Because, so we could hang out with our friends.
That's right. And if you look closely at the graphic of the Ivory Attic, we have an ivory tower that's crumbling.
That's exactly
and we're
right.
high-fiving at the top of it.
Which we still are.
Which we still are. In self-congratulatory high fives every single episode. But no, that's so true. And it's the idea that, and I mean, I don't want to moan too much about the woes of higher education because we're trying to do this as a way to kind of recenter ourselves, I think.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, part of the reason the entire reason we're doing this gratitude episode is so that things aren't focused on the negative.
Exactly.
That things are focused on that and to show that professors are people.
Yeah, exactly.
Who have like real emotions
and are driven in the same way that all the rest of us are, which is by having good people around us and trying to do some little positive thing in this world.
We're not like that much like everybody else though, right?
Well, no. I mean, we also aren't doing that much positive all the time. And we're not doctors.
Right.
Well, I'm not real doctors.
There are some real doctors in academia, though.
There are, but none of the ones that we've talked about.
Right. We should get one of those.
Yeah, we should get one of those. I don't know. It'd be intimidating to talk to someone who actually does stuff.
It would. It saves lives.
Well, good. Let's listen to another. Next, we'll hear from Ian Clark about things he's thankful for.
Hello, Ivory Attic listeners. This is Ian Clark. I brought you Tales from the Natural World a few months ago. I didn't come up with the name Tales from the Natural World, but it sums up what I am thankful for. I suppose we could have a worthwhile debate about what exactly constitutes the natural world, or better yet, is there anything that is not the natural world? But that's not important for the moment. You know what we mean. I'm thankful for the time that I've spent in the natural world, in solitude, with friends, with family, most of all with my children, now grown, each having developed their own relationship with nature. But the tales part is important. As social animals with language, we can go out into the wilderness, we can observe, study, bask, count, whatever, and come back with stories. We can read or hear the stories of people who've gone where we never will. Tales from the natural world, one little chunk of the universe, sharing with another little chunk of the universe their own experience of yet another chunk of the universe. That's what Thanksgiving is all about, right?
God, I love that man.
I know. He's so good. It's also turkey, though. I mean, you know.
And a mound of carbohydrates.
Yeah. I mean, I counted one bird
right.
on Thursday. And it was right in front of me.
Being just devoured, gluttonously.
And I knew
devoured.
what kind it was, which is rare, actually, for when I actually count birds.
And I think I even guessed what that bird was.
Exactly. It was good. It was good. I mean,
what's your relationship with nature?
What is I like nature a lot. I enjoy I think I'm like probably a lot of people. Every time, well, maybe not. Maybe most people aren't like us. Every time I go out and take a hike, especially as Ian kind of pointed out, if I take a hike with my kids and we're out in the woods and we're just kind of wandering around, small couple mile hike. Every time I do it, I think I should do this more.
Yeah.
And then I really don't. I do it about the same all the time. And so that's my general relationship. I will say, I don't like long hikes. I've tried those.
Not a fan.
I like the woods, but in reality, I mean, a lot of them do look a lot like the other ones.
Yeah, they do. Well, it's like the fields, right?
Yeah, right. The woods and the fields both look the same. Yeah. If they alternate pretty quickly, it's all right. And if you get some water in there, it can get interesting for a little bit.
Yeah.
But
especially in Pennsylvania.
Well, yeah, which is where I've done most of my hiking.
Yeah.
So So, but other than that, I love nature. It's nice being out. It's nice being out. Nice seeing. I actually like it around this time too. This is my favorite time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you don't have to worry about
because you don't get sweaty, no ticks,
no bugs. You can wear some, some nice heavy jackets and sweaters. Everyone loves that.
To some degree, right? This isn't though the best time to go wandering in the woods in Pennsylvania. We should give a public service announcement about that because it's hunting season.
Well, I always have my orange.
Oh, right. I know. But
I always have my orange.
That's why I'm saying please put your orange on.
I mean,
right?
It's an
important distinction.
It is important.
Yeah.
But you always have. Just put your orange on. It's fine. And the deer can't see it. That's why the hunters wear it.
Yeah.
So you'll still see deer.
You'll still see deer. And hopefully not dying. In front of your family as you're going for a walk.
On that note, let's listen to another.
You didn't ask me my relationship with nature.
I can now. All right. Ian, what's your relationship with nature?
Oh, that's complicated. So I liked your little anecdote about the family in the woods, and I do like going for hikes with my family in the woods. But one of the things I really like doing when I'm hiking is doing like very aggressive, vigorous hiking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like very kind of, I have a place to go. I have a mission. I want to work up and get my heart beat up.
Really moving.
And unfortunately, a lot of people like staring at things in the woods.
Yes.
They like the peacefulness of it. And I do it as I'm not trying to like compete with the woods, but I'm trying to.
Well, good, because you'll lose.
Because I'm competing with myself in the woods.
Yeah. So I actually I don't quite get that. The problem is when I was growing up, my parents always wanted to try to see wildlife, and so
I'm not interested.
When we walked through the woods, there had to be absolute silence. You couldn't drag your feet. You had to make sure you picked them up. You couldn't really step on sticks. And you definitely couldn't pick anything up and swing them around and make lots of noise, because the idea was to we were stalking the woods when we went through that, but
it's also a good way to keep your kids quiet.
Well, I was going to say, I think that was probably what they're doing. But I will say, as a 11-year-old kid, for instance, I can't imagine
we're stalking the deer.
It was not. It couldn't possibly have been more torturous. It was.
Pick your feet up.
Let's hear from Vern Sisney about the types of things he's actually thankful for.
What am I thankful for? I know that I was forbidden from speaking about this on the podcast, but I do just want to get in a plug for my family. Because, in part it was because, my son came home for Thanksgiving. We hadn't seen him since August, and it was just great having everyone, gathered together again for a couple of days. And, just because my kids they're both grown, and it's just, it's just amazing. It's just remarkable, because, with all the negativity and the acrimony that surrounds us every day and all the bleak news and everything, it's just, it's a privilege to have had a hand in raising two conscientious, thoughtful, kind, sweet, intelligent people. I mean, and watching them become real full-grown human beings it's just been amazing. And I've been able to participate in that because I've had a partner for 27 years now who has been my best friend, and it's just amazing to know that no matter how much the world is trying to ding you, that you've got a person that's always going to have your back. And so I'm very grateful for my family. And oftentimes I don't feel like I deserve that level of happiness, but I'm grateful for it. And then the other thing, I am truly grateful, and sometimes I just sit and marvel at, and I know you feel this way too, Kurt, I marvel at the privilege of doing the job that we do. I mean, if you think about the history of the entire history of the human race, there have been very few jobs that are like ours. And I was thinking this morning as I was driving into work, I was thinking, if I had to do something else with my life, to make a living and to pay the bills, like I would want to do what I'm doing anyway. And so the fact that I get paid to do this thing, to, read these, thoughtful and provocative and inspiring texts and engage with meaningful philosophical problems, and to bring those conversations to students and to help these students figure out who they are in life and where they want to go in life and help them become the people that they're going to become. I mean, that is just a remarkable privilege. And the fact that I get paid to do that is just, sometimes it's unfathomable. I sit and I think, I am just so lucky. I really am. So those would be the things that I think I would express tremendous gratitude for. So thank you for giving me this opportunity.
I think we need to set the record straight. No topics are forbidden on the Ivory.
I was curious where that came from.
I think it was because we just dismissed and said, listen, what brings you joy is obviously family. Although you and I know that family is not a source of joy for a lot of people.
That is
right?
true.
So
that
we probably shouldn't assume that.
We shouldn't assume that.
But we also know Vern, and we knew that his first answer was going to be family.
Exactly.
So we weren't forbidding the subject.
It is true. Well, I mean, I think we often, when we ask our guests what bring them joy, we tend to kind of forbid that. I think both because a lot of people do believe that. I think if they have really good family lives, but even more so, there's another group of people who don't believe that but feel that they have to say it.
Those. And maybe we should let those people say it.
Well,
because,
maybe it would help things out.
It sounds like a disclaimer, whenever they say, of course, my family, right? That's my number one. But my number two is something else,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, I think, Vern, I think echoes, some stuff that I at least, have thought about in the past. And I think was one of the things I was thinking about talking about with my idea of what I'm grateful for. So
once again, stealing our thunder.
Yeah, exactly.
We should not have guests on anymore.
Exactly.
We should just do our own talking.
That's really true. Well, the good news is next we can listen to Dave Powell, who's once again going to take the easy way out.
Hey, Kurt, it's Dave calling, as promised, to talk about what I'm grateful for. I'll start by saying the things that need to be said that are the most obvious. I'm grateful for this incredible family that I have, for the great colleagues that I have, people like you and Ian, friends at the Ivory Attic and all over campus where we work. I work with really tremendous people, and I'm really grateful for that. Grateful to have the job that I have and to do the work that I do. They say if you if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And I think all of us who teach for a living know that that's true. We know there's a lot of work involved too, but there's also that part as well. I've also been thinking a lot about a song that Jason Isbell wrote that was on his most recent album. It's called Middle of the Morning, and he talks a lot about gratitude in that song. I think he's kind of interrogating what it's like to come out of the pandemic and everything else that's been happening in the world in the last few years and try to hold on to some sense of hope. So one of the lines that he has in that song I think is really powerful is this notion of being grateful for. He says, I'm trying to be grateful for my devils and call them by their name. This idea that you need to recognize the challenges that come your way that make you stronger and make you better. So I try to work on that, certainly as any person should. We've got another really great line where he says, I'm tired of living in the moment and sleeping through the dream, which I just think is a great subversion of what a lot of people think is the sort of the number one rule that we should always live by, which is, to seize the day, carpe diem. I like the idea of subverting that and saying it's not always about what you're doing in the moment. It's not about what you're doing right now. It's about what you can imagine that might happen in the future. And so I guess I'm grateful for these ideas too. I'm grateful for people out there who are making music like this and stimulating my mind and helping to remind me that even when things aren't going as well as they could or should, or maybe as I would like them to, that there's a lot to be grateful for anyway. So I could say a whole lot of other things too that I'm grateful for, and maybe a few that I'm not so grateful for, but we'll save that for another phone message at another time. Hope this is helpful, man. Hope to talk to you all again soon.
I could listen to Dave all day long.
Agreed.
I could also listen to Jason Isbell all day long, which I often do.
Well, there you go. Perfect. I will say I'm going to try not to take it personally that Dave was the only one who listed the Ivory Attic as something he was grateful for.
Well, and I think we should take that personally. But one of the things that he brought up, I love this idea of acknowledging demons and calling them by their name.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? But I love that idea of kind of presence, of understanding that the stuff that you don't like about you or the stuff that you find to be problematic about you is something to be present about, accepting of, and to, at some point, to be able to recognize that it's fundamentally a part of you, right?
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of academics really, I think a lot of people in a lot of professions struggle with that notion, but I think with academe, because we work so much in kind of a solitary environment, that oftentimes those devils, their voices are a lot louder than I think for a lot of other professions.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't help that a lot of us spend a good 6 hours a day just sitting at our desks staring at
and thinking
a
about
paper or a book. I was going to say, or just thinking.
But thinking critically, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that criticism, that's not just a voice for external criticism. That's also an internal criticism that's going on.
More commonly, actually.
More commonly, that's
that
right.
One's easier, yeah. Well, you know what? We have a special guest who's coming back on. Now, this is important because they're going to sound a little different. They've kind of changed a lot about how they talk and how they speak. But I mean, largely, from what I understand, are the same person that we interviewed not too long ago.
Oh, I think I know who this is.
You might.
Is this who I think it is?
Ian, do me a favor and say hello to ChatGPT.
Hello, Dean Chat. It's nice to see you again.
Hey there. Thanks for the warm greeting. It's good to be here chatting with you again. What's on your mind today?
Oh, what's on my mind is gratitude. Can you tell me what the word gratitude means?
Absolutely. Gratitude means feeling thankful or appreciative for something. It's that warm feeling you get when you recognize and value the good things in your life. Anything specific you're feeling grateful for today?
Actually, we were going to ask you that, Dean Chad. Is there something that you're actually grateful for?
Well, I'm not exactly human, but I'm grateful for the opportunity to assist and chat with amazing people like you. Every conversation adds a bit more to my learning, making it quite the journey. What about you? Anything specific sparking gratitude for you today?
Well, we talked a bit about that. Well, how about this? I'm curious. So we're actually you might I don't know if you actually remember this or not, but we're a couple of professors that do that are doing a podcast. I was curious. What kind of things do you think people in academia, specifically professors, perhaps, should be grateful for?
That sounds like a fascinating podcast. Professors could be grateful for the pursuit of knowledge, the impact they have on students, and the continuous opportunity to learn and grow in their fields. What's your take on it? Anything else you think academics might find gratitude in?
Why are academics so unhappy then?
Academic life can bring unique challenges, pressure to publish, secure funding, and manage various responsibilities. The constant pursuit of excellence can sometimes lead to stress and dissatisfaction. What aspects do you think contribute to the perceived unhappiness among academics?
Yeah, being too excellent. That's the one. That's the one for me.
Striving for excellence is admirable, but finding a balance is key. It's crucial to acknowledge achievements without overwhelming oneself. How do you manage the quest for excellence in your academic journey? Any specific strategies that work for you?
The big one is not being excellent.
I will say though, ChatGPT, I really appreciate Dean Chat. I really appreciate these questions. I will say, I think you've missed a little bit of the point of a podcast. So we're actually supposed to be asking you the questions more that way. Sorry,
I'm feeling kind of good about being asked these questions, though. It's really making me think.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Maybe she should be running the chat.
She definitely should be doing the podcast.
No worries at all. I'm here to adapt. It's fantastic to hear that the questions are sparking some thought. Feel free to take the lead and ask me anything you'd like. What's on your mind for the next topic in your podcast?
Well, we actually probably need to get going, but it was really, really nice chatting with you, Gene Chat.
It's always good talking to you. Would you mind coming back on our podcast?
Absolutely. I'd be delighted to join your podcast. Just let me know when, and we can continue the conversation. Have a great day.
All right, you too. Thank you.
You too. She said she liked our podcast.
I know. I didn't realize she was a fan.
I had no idea.
She has a lot of followers.
A lot of followers.
We could if we can get her to push some of this out, I think on her social media,
definitely
we'd get a couple more viewers.
Yeah, and also I have to say those answers were better than anything we come up with.
Yeah,
not that our guests have come up with, but that we could.
No, I
with.
know. I'm actually I am a little concerned because I think our next segment was going to be us talking about what we're grateful for, and she took most of my answers.
She took most of my answers, and she also took my striving for excellence.
All right. You know what? I think after that, I think I'm gonna have to take a break.
I think we need to take a break,
and then we'll come back, and then we'll talk about what we are actually grateful for.
Thanks for listening to the Ivory Attic. We'll be back in a minute. Greetings, colleagues. Welcome back to the Ivory Attic. We're now going to discuss what we're grateful for.
All right. Well, why don't you kick us off there, Ian? Okay. What are you grateful for?
Oh, that's a difficult question. Really.
Oh, okay. Well, I give you a fair amount of time to get ready for this. We talked about this ahead of time.
But you know how it is. Just because it's on the syllabus doesn't mean you have an answer that's prepared, right? So I've been doing a lot of reflection the last couple months. I'm not sure if I've told you multiple times that I'm on sabbatical.
I haven't heard. No, that's interesting. Yeah.
And with that, I've been doing a lot of reflecting. I've been doing a lot of exercising, which I'm not very good at. And I've been doing a lot of writing too, and thinking about what I want the next phase of my career to look like. I think that one of the interesting things about our life, and when you hit mid-career, you start thinking about the future and what that future is going to look like, right? And what you actually value.
Yeah, no, it's the worst. It's the worst part.
That's what I've heard. So I'm trying to figure. Yeah, so I'm trying to figure. The worst part so far.
No, yeah, that's true. But you think that the getting tenure part is going to be the worst part? That's actually
no. It's what comes next.
It's what comes next. Yeah. because that at least is a goal, and we're pretty like a lot of us have dealt with. Yeah. Reaching objectives, striving for excellence, as
every
Dean
day
Chat would say.
Every day, just nailing that excellence every day. So I mean, I think part of my reflection has been looking forward, but also looking, of course, backward and understanding, to quote our first episode, what has given me joy in the past, what gives me joy in my profession now, and what I can do to amplify that sense of satisfaction and joy. Right. And I think that part of the difficulty, and I think part of the things that we've been struggling with, I think, in our fields, but also just in the broader higher education landscape, is the idea of the insecurity of what the future of education is going to look like in this country, right? And what our role is. And I think that part of that's within our control, but a big part of it's outside of our control. The one thing that's within our control is how we live our lives, right? And what I've been trying to do, and what's given me, and I think, long story short, we're professors, we give long answers to things. There are two sides, I think, to the gratitude coin. The first is, of course, my family, right? Because my family gives me... my little family unit, my wife, son, and myself, like the three of us as a unit together is really what gives me moral purpose in the world. Yeah. And makes me almost, and I always do this toward the holidays. Like it's the only time of the year that I show emotion. Get very emotional. Yeah. And my wife says I become Mr. Fezziwig, and I get like oddly, just strangely sentimental and teary-eyed.
Yeah, I was going to say, the Bing Crosby starts playing in the background.
The Crosby in the background, the twinkle lights, every bit of it. The glitter that's perpetually on your hands from ornaments that have fallen off the trees, right? All of it. But within my family unit, like one of the things that I truly love about this season is all of us coming together and watching movies and spending time on the couch and having added time with one another. And I find that just so beautiful. And I think that what McKinley said earlier is also the other side of the coin for me, which is that friendships have always been akin to family with me. And especially if you have a small family, or if your family might have had some rocky patches in it in its past, that oftentimes the friends you choose are the closest people in your lives. Right. And so I have my family, and then I have my chosen family, of which, Kurt, you are a member. So
wonderful.
Yes. Well, so I am for the time being.
Oh, okay.
And so but I'm very grateful for our chosen family here in Gettysburg in particular, because as higher education, as the ivory tower kind of crumbles around us, the one thing we have is our sense of community, and the one thing we have is the relationships that we've spent a decade or more building with one another. And I am so grateful for those.
That's excellent. Well, I think, I can't think of, I mean, you've stolen all of my good answers. And no, it's exactly right? Like it is wonderful to have these people around us.
Yeah.
And I think the purpose side is interesting. One thing that I think, and that we talk about, that is a huge privilege of that. So we again, there's some uncertain times happening right now, but there's also some wonderful things about this job. And one of the things about this job,
we should by the way have a lightning bolt every time we say uncertain times.
I can make that happen.
Okay, good. Let's make that happen.
I'll make it happen.
Anyway,
actually, I'll program in the soundboard.
Hit the soundboard.
But I think one of the wonderful things about being a professor is that we are given a fair amount of leeway in being able to decide what meaning means to us and to our profession. Especially one of the things I think we both really love about working at a small liberal arts college, I think that's especially true, where we are, just like Vern was talking about earlier, we are largely tasked. So we our job descriptions do not include a description of the excellence that we are supposed to actually create. They say that we have to show up to our classes, and that's about it. The rest of it is basically what we've talked about in this podcast, which is that this general idea about what the academy is supposed to be doing for society. Mm-hmm. Like, what are we supposed to be contributing to the world at large, as Ian would say, to this little chunk of the universe. What are we trying to actually contribute to that? And I think our answer is whatever that means to us, and that can be paralyzing at times because, as you were talking about, once you're done kind of doing the things that you kind of knee jerk do as an academic, which is publish the same things you published when you were you did as a PhD. Mm-hmm. I think once you get past that stage, it's this opening of, well, okay, so you've done that. Congratulations. Now what? And I think that's actually one of the things that I'm most grateful for about this job. And I do think, obviously I'm very biased being it, but I think it's a wonderful thing to have a group of people whose sole job is to think and to think about what thinking and what creation of knowledge means and what matters in that, and then also at the same time teaching a group of people how to think themselves in the future. And to me, I mean, that's the whole job, which I love.
I mean, and the job, I mean, I can't echo that. I think that's a perfect answer. I can't build upon that much. But what I can say is I think one of the things that we both have talked about, most of our students, unless you're going off becoming a professional physicist or unless you're going off becoming a professional historian, they're not going to remember a lot of the lectures that we give, right?
Right.
But what they do remember are us mentoring them, talking to them during office hours. They remember time invested, right? They remember us showing up to sports games or showing up to recitals that they have and things like that, right? Yeah. They remember investment.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that I love hearing is students then going off and becoming good mentors on their own and investing time in other people, regardless of the field in which they go into.
Yeah.
So I think that's a part of the model that's oftentimes overlooked.
Absolutely.
And it's an important part of what we do. And it's an important part of our social contribution, I think, to the wider fabric.
I completely agree. We should move on because this is way too sentimental for us.
It's I'm getting teary-eyed.
I was gonna say you're getting. I was gonna say I was seeing.
And my back is a little sore from all the self-congratulations.
Well, good. Well, let's move on to something we like to talk about even more than ourselves, which is
what's your style? We thought it would be fun if we bantered on a little bit about what we like to wear to holiday parties.
I love this. The holiday parties. So do you have? Okay, here's a first question. Do you have separate holiday wear that comes out only around December?
100%.
Of course, right?
That's right.
I have shirts. I have 2 green and 1 red shirt that only come out at this time.
Yep.
Because, listen, a guy wearing a bright green shirt in the middle of July is nuts.
It's a little bit much,
especially
right?
like button up with it. But man, you put on that green shirt at this time.
Yeah.
Put a little red holiday tie with a little bit of snowflakes on it.
Yeah.
And man, you're in business.
Little Squirrel Nut Zippers Christmas album on the background.
Right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Just give you a little bit of that kind of strut as you're walking around in your green shirt.
It's so good. It's so good. And for the record, we should make this clear. I'm not going to say this. I will say for me, all of my celebrations are non-denominational or maybe multi-denominational. I don't know what to call mine.
I think you celebrate the season.
I do celebrate the season. And so we we go to my cousin's house and we have for instance our Christmas celebration is that when I go to my cousin's house, we go there and then he always has this beautiful Christmas tree that's topped with the Star of David and covered in blue lights. It's beautiful. Yeah.
So one of my favorites is my trousers get more colorful and more patterned.
Yeah.
So I break out the tartan trousers specifically for the holidays, and sometimes I continue them a little bit past. So we keep our tree up for the 12 days of Christmas.
Sure. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So,
absolutely.
So we keep it up for the full
Tudor
12
style.
days. Well, yes, and I wear bold trousers during the entire 12 days. So I have red, I have maroon, I have different tartans that I wear.
I wear bold trousers at the holidays.
I wear them up to Epiphany. Then
it sounds like your second memoir. Or maybe a David Sedaris spin-off book. I don't know.
Actually, he's got a great little Christmas book.
He does.
It's Holidays on
Ice.
On Ice, yeah. No, that's a great one.
By the way,
wear bold trousers until Epiphany.
That
doesn't have
by the way, David Sedaris, you're welcome to come on the show.
Oh, we'd love to have you on the show. Yeah.
If you're listening, or if someone who knows him is listening, let him know.
But what else?
So
you have a lot of like holiday neckwear.
I do have a lot of holiday neckwear. I have at some point. I think it was probably late high school to early college. That's the time when people think you should start being slightly more serious in your dress, I think, or at least my family did. But they also want to create some whimsy, and so they're giving you lots of joke ties. Lots of. I have one that is red and white, and it has a snowman on it, and he's drinking hot chocolate and melting. And there's some sort of funny saying. I don't remember what it's not that funny, obviously. But the great thing, I love these things because when I'm around the house, I kind of wear those things. When I need to teach, be a little more serious, I just put a nice vest on, and then all of a sudden it becomes serious tie. It's doing twice the work.
Twice the work.
And I have a couple of them like that. And so one of them has reindeer on it. And one of the things I love about it is that when I wear like a waistcoat that comes right around to the sternum or so, it looks very serious. It just looks like red with a couple like little white specks of snow, but then there's just a little reindeer nose peeking out from behind behind.
That's amazing. So you really have to look hard for it.
You really have to, and people do a double take, like, wait a second,
and then they're like, "Oh, that's some hidden whimsy."
Look at
that's
that
going on there,
right? That's my favorite. Like that's like that to me is
very subtle.
That to me is the peak. That's the peak for me. I also, my wife, because she knows me very well, last year bought me for Christmas a top hat.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And you put some mistletoe in it, didn't you? Or holly.
Because we have holly bushes and trees at our house, and so I put it on. I take a little clipping and put it on. Last year I wore it around the Bronx Zoo. That was it felt I was like straight out of a Christmas special.
And you also waxed your mustache, didn't you?
Of course.
Yeah, you waxed the mustache with the top hat.
Oh, yeah.
And I think you wore it in a major film production, didn't you?
Well, I don't. That's true. I guess we should. Well, I did do it. We just saw that. I just went to the showing of this. It's called A Gettysburg Christmas.
A Gettysburg Christmas.
Unfortunately, no one else is going to see it this season because it didn't get made in time. So they're not going to release it until next year.
Oh, right.
So I got to see it because I was in it.
And there was a debut, though.
But it was a closed. It was just in Gettysburg.
A closed viewing.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, exactly. And so it was just people who were involved. It was wonderful.
And can you see your top hat?
I mean, there's a close up.
I didn't know there was a close up.
And I'm singing.
Oh, yeah. That's perfect.
Oh, yeah.
With that resonant baritone of yours.
Oh, it was wonderful. Yes, it was very holiday.
We'll look for it next year.
Yeah, exactly. You should. I mean, that'll be when it all blows up. Podcast, the movie, the whole thing. It's just gonna. You're probably not. I mean, it's going to be hard to get a hold of me after that. So.
And one thing we haven't talked about is that I think we're both very grateful for the podcast too.
We have to talk about that. Yeah, which the podcast has been. When we were talking about it, we said it was going to be great, and we had many drinks about how we were going to start this and what we were going to do,
and how great it was going to be.
And how great it was going to be.
It kept getting greater.
It kept on getting greater, and then we started it. and it's actually better than we even thought.
It's way better than we thought.
And I will say the other thing we were grateful for, which I also want to say are our guests, because that is part of why it's been so great.
Oh, that's entirely why it's been so great.
It's been they have been so much more wonderful than I had expected.
Yeah.
And again, like, we knew these people. We already knew they were great people.
Yeah.
And it turns out you put a mic in front of them, they're even better.
They're even better. And we have things to look forward to in the new year.
Exactly. Yeah, we already have our next guest line up, and it's going to be a great start.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, well, so, hey, you know what? We've been working hard again.
We've been working hard.
You know what that means.
It's time for Kurt's Cocktail Corner.
That's right. We're going to take a quick break. I'm going to go get some things ready, and I'm going to introduce a cocktail to Ian that he suggested a while ago, and I took him up on. And so
I love it.
Yeah. So we'll see what that is when we get back.
Hi, welcome back to the Ivory Attic.
Hi. So, Ian, are you ready for this?
I'm ready for it.
All right. What do you see over there?
I see a what I consider a milky, mud-colored kind of liquor.
I mean, listen, Ian. You asked me a while ago.
I mean, it looks like Bailey's is what it looks like.
You asked me a while ago to create you a Thanksgiving cocktail with all the flavors of Thanksgiving.
That's right. That tasted like Thanksgiving. I forgot about that.
All right. Well, what we got some. So now listen, this was hard to do. I'm not going to tell you what's in it. I'm going to just let you see it for now.
I mean, it looks like Thanksgiving because Thanksgiving, your plate is usually very beige colored.
It looks like gravy, doesn't it?
It looks like gravy.
All right.
And
we're going to put a couple cranberries in there
that are floating in the top.
Yeah, they're going to float. Now, we're going to do something else, too. We're going to get some rosemary. So, some beautiful rosemary. Now,
and you're lighting it on fire.
I'm going to light it on fire. A good friend of mine just got me this really nice pipe insert for my Zippo.
For your Zippo.
And I'm just going to...
And you're very grateful for it.
I am very grateful. And I'm just going to get this rosemary lit on fire with my pipe insert. All right.
Oh, it's amazing. Going right in there, the burning rosemary.
And now let's check it out. See what we think about it. Get a photo first. Oh yeah, get a photo first. It's pretty good.
Okay.
All right. Cheers. By the way, I almost always taste my creations before I have them. This is not true this time. Let's see.
Bottoms up. Oh, that's weird.
That is weird.
That is. I won't say I don't like it, but it's weird.
Let's get there. Let's go in again and see what we think.
You know what I did that you shouldn't do? I smelled it as I was tasting it.
Yeah. There's you note the savory notes. There's some strong savory notes.
That's the aspect.
That was what I was really trying to capture when you asked for it. Because you and I want to be explicit. You were asking for turkey flavors. You were asking for mashed potatoes. These types of things.
No, I said everything on a Thanksgiving plate in a glass,
and that's what I've given you.
And it's close.
I mean, keep drinking out, and I'll tell you more about what I did. All right.
But what I love is it is the beige colored plate.
It looks stuffing
and mashed potatoes and gravy.
It's perfect.
That everything's kind of brown.
Listen, Ian, you asked for something, I deliver. All right.
I'm not saying it's not good.
Well. So let me tell you how we did this. All right. First, listen, we
definitely don't smell it.
No. So we started with some apple brandy, because let's start. I was actually gonna do bourbon. I was gonna be a little cheeky and do wild turkey, but but I didn't have any. So we took some bourbon. We've got to get a savory note in there. Now, this is one point where I will say I didn't get to do exactly what I wanted to.
Please say it's Heinz gravy.
Well, no, what I want to do is there's this great technique called fat washing that you can do where you actually take the fat of something and then basically mix it with with your liquor, and then you skim it off afterwards. You freeze it and skim it off afterwards. Now, I really wanted to do this with turkey drippings, but I was not quick enough during our Thanksgiving celebration to actually pull those off. But so I did the next best thing, which is yesterday I made some bacon, and this is some bacon washed.
Oh my God.
This is some delicious bacon washed apple brandy. All right.
So what's the purpose of the fat washing?
Oh, it gives it some of that flavor.
It does.
So you get
flavor.
Yeah, that's well. You're not going to get a savoriness without a little bit of fat washing with it.
It definitely has that fat washed flavor to it.
Exactly. So we started with that, and then I started. Okay, listen. My default. We're always going towards Manhattan. I know you love a good Manhattan, so we get a little sweet vermouth in there. All right. And so it also brings out some of the cranberries in it, which I threw in when I was shaking it. All right.
Oh.
I also threw some of the rosemary in when I was shaking it because I thought, hey, could use a little bit extra rosemary. I still was worried we weren't going to be savory enough. And so
Really?
Yeah. It's a concern, as you can imagine. So we did some celery bitters.
Very nice.
To get a little bit more of those Thanksgiving flavors in there.
Wow.
And this was where I feel like I really got... This is where the whole drink came together, because I thought, it's not going to look right. I am thinking about mashed potatoes. Mashed potatoes aren't clear liquor. They're like...
No, they're definitely not clear liquor.
Yeah, they like Thanksgiving isn't clear liquor. Thanksgiving is kind of cloudy-ish, thickish stuff.
With a lot of emotional complexity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so we threw an egg white in there and we shook that up with it. And that gives you the gratitude cocktail.
The gratitude cocktail. Amazing work as usual. You have, and it's also a little E&B. It's eggs and bacon.
It's a little E&B, I know, which I was excited about as well.
Oh, it is breakfast and Thanksgiving in a glass.
It's all of it. Challenging. It's a challenging one to drink.
It is. It is savory, though. I will give you that.
Savory.
It is savory, and it's not for the faint of heart.
It is not, which we are. Which we are not, especially when it comes to drink. So we're good. Well, Ian, I think we've done it again.
I think we've done it again. That takes us out. Hey, I'm wishing everybody a very, very happy holiday season with whatever you celebrate or with whomever you celebrate it.
Absolutely, and thank you all so much. The one thing we forgot to mention that we're so grateful for is all of you.
It's all of you listeners. Thank you so much.
It's been great. It's why we do it.
It's been great.
Actually, that's not true. It's part of why we do it.
It's part of why we do it, but you've all made our podcast, so make sure to continue to download our episodes, share our podcast widely on whatever social media venue you want to share it with, and we look forward to bringing some ACES content for you next year.
Absolutely, and I think one of the best gifts you could give this year would be introducing a loved one or a friend to this podcast and to the wonderful amount of content that we have.
That's a great idea.
Tell them to start wherever, except for in the first episode.
Especially
when the sound's really bad.
It sounds bad. But especially when you're back on your meeting with family around the holiday table, make sure to bring it up.
Oh, yeah, bring it up. It's important. All right, wonderful. Well, contacting us, because maybe people want to send us Christmas or any kind of holiday cards.
Yeah,
they can't. We're not going to give out an actual address, but we'll give out. You can send us things electronically. Where would they send all that stuff?
mail@ivoryattic.com.
Absolutely.
And they can also contact us on social media. You can contact us at the Ivory Attic on Instagram, on Facebook, or Ivory Attic Hosts on X.
Absolutely.
But we're not really using X that aggressively, but we're still there.
Yeah, I mean, we hang out there every once in a while. So we'd love to hear from all of you, and join in your festivities the next month. And looking forward to seeing you on the next episode.
I'm looking forward to seeing you all as we rummage through the Ivory Attic. I'm Ian Isherwood.
And I'm Kurt Andreessen.